thank you for tuning in to Truth and Justice with Vivian King. We have another amazing story. We're going to open the case in juvenile justice of 15-year-old Darian Ward, who was wrongfully accused of terroristic threat while still in high school. It was last summer. It was devastating for this child and his single-parent father to, well, just let me let you watch the newsreel to show you what this story is all about. Mark, play the newsreel.
Who do you believe? That is what it's come down to in Clute tonight, where a high school student was arrested for threatening to kill classmates. Fox 26's Isaiah Carey is live at Brazos Wood High School in Clute right now with the details. Isaiah.
Well, Melinda, that 15-year-old student is now back in class here at Clute, and this is after spending nearly a week behind bars. Now, the father of that young boy says he wants to know if someone is trying to set up his son by putting out text messages alleging that his son was going to kill students here at the high school. By any standard, 15-year-old Darian Baker would be considered a model student at Brazos Wood High or any school.
I'm in theater, choir, and band. I'm in varsity. I'm on the drum line at Brazos Wood, and I mean, I'm well respected.
But the 10th grader's reputation and credibility are now on the line. That's after he was arrested in class in front of all of his classmates on Valentine's Day. He stayed in juvie lockup for 5 days.
It was embarrassing, and it was also just, I was confused because I didn't know what I was being being arrested for.
Baker was accused of threatening to kill 4 other students at school, according to Clute police. Investigators here at the small city police department say they have texts Darian allegedly sent to another female student at the school. Texts they did not show us at Fox and refused to go on camera.
If they showed me my son saying anything derogatory, anything criminal, anything of any kind of nature like that, I mean, show it to me.
Edmund Baker is upset as a father who raised Darian alone since he was 2 years old. He says he knows in his heart his son didn't send the text messages. Plus, there's this little issue.
His phone is broken, and we told him that. We say his phone is broken. There's no way, even if he wanted to send it, he couldn't have sent it because his phone is broken. And number 3, that day, he was sick.
Why would someone just lie on the 10th grader? He says he has little, if any, contact with a young girl and her mother who reported him to the police department. Did you send the text messages?
No, sir.
Officials with the school district here say they are cooperating with local law enforcement investigators who are handling the case. In the meantime, Edmund Baker, the father of the 15-year-old, says this was an issue he did not want to bring up, but it bothers him that his son is an African-American male and the 2 accusers are white females. Reporting live from Clute, Isaiah Carey, Fox 26 News.
What a frightening experience for a 15-year-old kid. This is a year later. He's now 16, and Darian Ward is in the, I'm thinking of Jalen Baker. Darian Ward is in the studio with me, with his father, and I'm going to start with his father because I'm sure the 16-year-old's a little nervous. So Edmund, introduce yourself to my audience and tell me, how did you feel finding out your son had been arrested?
Well, of course, it was really shocking to me. It was hours before I even knew he had gotten arrested. They took him out of the school without me being notified. They took him to juvie lockup without me being notified. It was maybe 4 hours, 5 hours later when I found out that he was already booked in a cell.
Wow.
Wow. And didn't tell me why. They didn't even give me a reason. They just said he's in juvie lockup and he's been picked up from the school. And I asked why, and they wouldn't give me any information over the phone.
Now, as a single dad, he was 15 last summer, or last Valentine's Day when he was arrested. Tell me what your normal routine was, you know, in terms of picking him up from school, taking him to school, and what type of child he really was.
Now, he's really responsible, and we have a routine that's pretty much clockwork every day. But this particular day, he was going to walk home. from school, and so it wasn't a big deal at the time because I was about an hour's drive away at an event. But when I got the call about him being in jail, I mean, I just freaked out. I asked him why, what happened, and they just said we can't disclose that information right now. Because usually I drop him off in the morning, he'll walk home from school. Sometimes he walks home, walks to school and walk home. Cause we don't stay very far from the school. But this particular day, he was walking home, so it wasn't a big deal, that we hadn't communicated. But when I got that call that he wasn't at home, he was in jail.
Well, what kind of kid had he been? Had he gotten in trouble a lot before?
Never.
He had never been in trouble before?
Never, not one time.
Wow, did he make good grades?
Yes, ma'am.
And on the newscast, he talked about all the organizations he was in.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that true?
He's still doing that, yes, ma'am.
Right, wow. Well, hopefully, Darian, you've warmed up a little bit. So please introduce yourself to my audience. Darian.
Hello, my name is Darian Baker, and I'm 16. I'm very pleased to be here.
Thank you, sweetheart. Okay, so you were 15 last Valentine's Day when you were arrested. Describe what happened. If you remember what class you were in, about what time of day it was. Tell us about that.
Okay, well, it was in sixth period. I was in chemistry, and I was taking the test, and it was around 2-ish something, and I just got a call just saying to come to the front office. I mean, I don't know what it is, so I go, and there's a cop there, and that still doesn't trigger anything because I know I didn't do anything. And then he was the front desk lady was like, "Could you go over there, please?" Then the man was like, started telling me and the procedures and stuff of me getting arrested and everything. And so he started to arrest me, and then the school cop was there, and he was like, "What? No, you got the wrong kid." But he still, took me and everything. And
what, are you asking any questions, or you just complying? What are you thinking?
Because I was still I'm not a violent person, so I was going along with it while I was asking, what did I do? Can you tell me first or anything? But he didn't say anything. He just kept going, and he didn't even read me my rights either.
Wow.
He was just saying, "You're being arrested."
Wow.
And then started arresting me.
Wow.
And he took me. Yeah.
So what are you thinking it's for?
I didn't know what it was for. I knew I was innocent, so that's all I was. I was scared and I was embarrassed. I was confused, but I knew that, I was innocent, so I knew I didn't have anything to really, really worry about. So, and
did you tell him, call my father, or did you ask them to call, or were you too much in shock?
I was too much in shock. I was just like, why are you taking me? Let me be. But.
Right. So the school didn't try to call your father or anything. You're 15 years old.
And then all the front desk people, they turned their head the other way. And I mean, I've been there since freshman year, and they all know me, but
they acted like they didn't know you.
Yep.
Wow. How painful and embarrassing for a kid to have to go through that. So tell me what happened after that. After you went to jail, what happened?
Well, I was in there. They didn't even tell me what I did until I was in my orange jumpsuit.
Wow.
What I was accused for. And
right.
Then they finally was like, you're in here because you threatened, and they didn't say you were accused. They said I did it. They were like, you threatened to kill your classmates through text messages. And I was like, okay, well, can I see something? And one of the detention officers, he showed me the paper. And all it did was it didn't show any text messages. It just had printed out in letters saying, in words and stuff saying that I did this and I did that.
So it was like a report?
Yeah, they just showed me the report.
It was basically a report that somebody wrote?
Yes, ma'am.
But no evidence was ever produced of and you had your cell phone with you when you were arrested, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Did they take your cell phone?
Yes, ma'am, they took it.
And
they still have it.
They still have your cell phone a year and a half later, you still have it. And did you tell anybody when they arrested you, look, my cell phone doesn't even work?
Yep, and they just, nobody wanted to listen to me. They just kept going with their routine, whatever they were supposed to do. And then after about 3-4 hours, they finally let me call my dad. And that's when I let him know. And then he got on top of it, doing what he could. And started.
Right. Well, with the phone, did you explain? Tell the viewers, what shape was your phone in? Did you still have service to the phone?
Well, yes, ma'am, because the way my phone was broken, it wasn't a crack, it was a little glitch. And it would shut off, and it'll just be a blank white screen, and then it'll shut on sometimes. But the day before, it had shut off, and I took it with me because I thought, maybe it would come back on so I could communicate with my dad, but it didn't. And it was after that, the day before, it was just completely shut off.
So you knew you couldn't have done it the day before because
Yeah, I
your
know.
phone didn't work the day
Exactly.
before.
Yeah.
Right, you couldn't make it work.
Yes, ma'am. And I was sick. I had a stomach ache, and
So
I was laying in bed.
You didn't go to work at school that day?
It was after
Okay.
school. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So
'Cause during the day, my stomach was kind of hurting a little bit, but I was, I didn't think it was too much until I got home, and it hit
hit you.
hard.
They filed a report at 6 that evening.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
He
they
was
did.
already at home.
Now, when they told you the 4 people's names, did you know the 4 students?
They didn't tell me the people's names.
They never told
No,
you their
ma'am.
names?
They just told me. I just found out who accused me. They said 4 students, and then
The report.
the report was from the woman, the girl who lied on me, the teenage girl.
Okay, but so it wasn't 4 students even in the report. It was only one teenage girl and her mother.
Yes, ma'am.
No names of other kids.
I found out later on through like a friend, or whatever. But I don't want to repeat it because it's just rumors.
Yeah. I want to know what your real experience
Yes,
was.
ma'am. It was no other names. It was just her.
Wow. And when you saw her name, did you recognize her?
No, ma'am.
You didn't recognize who that name was?
I didn't.
You didn't know the name. Wow. All right. So, what day of the week was this, if you remember? Isaiah Carey's report said it was Valentine's Day, but I don't remember what Valentine's Day was in 2014.
I think it was a Thursday.
Okay.
Because I was in there 5 days, and Monday was vacation. It was a holiday, so they wouldn't let me out on Monday. So I went to court Tuesday.
So they wouldn't. So you're supposed to be such a menace. You have great grades. You're in all these organizations. You're only 15 years old, and you're being held in jail for 5 days. And never been in trouble before. Don't know what's going on. Were there other kids there?
Yes, ma'am.
Were any of them that you knew?
I knew one named Edmund Williams, but yeah, it was from a couple years ago in a different school.
I mean, how did they treat you those 5 days?
Pretty rough because I'm not a violent guy, so they were just kind of like teasing me and stuff.
It was rough.
Yeah, I pretty much just stayed in my cell, reading my Bible and singing songs.
I know that's right. Trying to keep your spirits up. Wow. Did they let your father visit you?
Yes, ma'am. He came that Saturday, and he was, as soon as he got that phone call, he was right on top of it, trying to figure out what was going on and what he could do and stuff.
So on Tuesday, when they take you before a judge or a magistrate, what happened? Because with juveniles, they're supposed to take you before a magistrate to read your Miranda warnings. But so that Tuesday, what happened?
That Tuesday, we went to the detention hearing. The judge was like, well, you've never been in trouble before, so we're going to let you out on orders of release, which is, they say it isn't probation, but it's probation because you have rules to follow. But if you're not, if you're innocent until proven guilty, you shouldn't have any rules to follow.
Right. But they put you on probation.
Yes, ma'am. That's what it is, probation. They put me on that, and then they just, after that, that's when it started getting crazy.
Because let me tell you, viewers, Darian stayed in jail for a total of 30 days. Now, he's in the 10th grade. Yeah, at the time. He's in the 10th grade at the time. He's 15, and he stays in jail for a total of 30 days because the first time is 5, and they keep arresting him, going back and forth, letting him out, arresting him, letting him out, arresting him. So, all right, so you get released that Tuesday. You got on probation. You got to follow these rules and go back to school. Do they let you back into school?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you go back to school, and
right after I get in school, they bring me in the office that morning, make me sign all these papers like I'm just the worst thing in the world.
What kind of papers?
Like saying that I can't go near this girl and I have to be a certain amount of feet away from her and all this stuff, and just acting like I'm just.
Did you even know the girl?
No, I don't.
Okay,
I didn't at the time.
You didn't at the time, so it's like, it's interesting. So how will you stay away from somebody that you don't even know who they are?
Exactly, but of course, I end up finding out and everything.
Of course.
It didn't affect me at all. Like, I don't know her. I didn't talk to her before. I'm not going to talk to her now. So.
Were you in any classes with her?
No, ma'am. She was a grade below me. So.
Okay. All right, so then you have to follow these rules. Tell me how you ended up going back and forth to jail like that.
Well, I was, like I said, I'm in drumline, choir, theater, and all that stuff. So theater, we were passing out flyers for an upcoming performance. Well, we're passing around, giving them to teachers and everything. Well, there's this one classroom that, I mean, I still don't know who the girl is. I'm just passing out flyers.
Right.
So there's this teacher, one of the teachers, I opened up the door halfway, I stick my arm through, I was like, can I put this here? Already had tape, right there on the door. She said, yeah, that's fine. All I did is stick my arm in there, half of my face, just to let her see that it's me with the flyer, put it on the door, and leave. Next thing you know, I'm arrested the next day.
For what now?
Because she said that I went into her classroom trying to retaliate.
Oh my God. Oh my God. So I guess she calls her mother, that calls the police, and they arrest you again?
And I asked, at that time, I was starting to get a little ticked. So I was like, okay, where's the proof? Who witnessed this? And she said, not she, the cop said that she said her mom was the witness.
Her mom was in the classroom with her?
No. They couldn't get the teachers or the students. Her mom was the witness. That's what they said.
So how long do you stay in jail this time?
That time, 16 days.
Now,
because they found me guilty because I can't be anywhere around or whatever. But I mean,
you don't know her.
I don't know her. I don't know her schedule or anything. I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do. So.
Wow.
During the theater class.
Wow. Look how nonsensical we've made the criminal justice system. That don't even make any sense. I mean, protective orders are for people who know each other, who are to stay away from each other, and you know where that person is. You got to have knowledge first. So a husband and wife that, you know, if there's an accusation of assault and a magistrate gives an emergency order of protection, then that order says they, 200 feet away from the resident, her job. But this is someone you know and have a relationship for, so you know how to stay away from them. But if you don't even know who the person is, the accuser is, how would you know what class she's in? I mean, they're not listening to you at all. They've basically done no investigation because they don't know and they can't prove that y'all have any contact or knowledge or anything of knowing each other. Wow. 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 So then you're in jail for 16 days. How did that turn out?
That was crazy. That was.
Because you're mad now.
Yeah, that's when, because I knew God got it. I kept reading Joseph, how he was in jail falsely. And that just kept giving me strength. I prayed a lot and stuff because I knew God had it. And that's when I got injured. I got when I went to the detention hearing that time, and then they was like, okay, you got 2 weeks. And they don't count 10 business days because they don't count weekends.
Wow.
And yeah, and then that's when like they gave me a probation officer, but I'm not on probation.
I know.
So I told him, I said, Mr. Woodard, these cuffs are on too tight. Could you loosen them a little bit? He's like, no. And by the time we got back from courthouse to the juvenile place, I still have a scar.
Wow.
On my wrist, both my wrists and both of my ankles.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
It was, they gashed me, and then I got attacked by another juvenile.
Wow.
He came and slapped me, and then that's when.
Did you have to fight him?
I didn't fight back because I let my light shine, so I got respect from a lot. But there's always, the some that just wanna hate you. So
right.
He attacked me, and then the other dudes, they broke it off because
you didn't want to fight.
I didn't want to fight.
But you don't want to just be punked either.
Exactly.
But you're trying to let God have it, and so it's hard to be praying, and then somebody slaps you, and you start fisticuffing with somebody, right? Because all they want to do now is label you as a gang member now.
Exactly. Because it was. I would have ended up fighting back, so I thank God that those dudes did come in and break me apart.
Wow, so why do you think other dudes broke it up? I mean, that seems nice.
Yeah, it was, because I was telling my story because I knew this was going to be a testimony.
Right.
So when I was in there, dude always ask you around the table playing cards, so what you in here for, man? Different stuff like that. So I let them know, I was in here falsely and stuff, and I just told them all I knew, and sooner or later they started believing me because of the way I acted in there.
Right.
I wasn't acting all like a criminal and stuff.
You weren't acting rowdy, disrespectful, because you're a very respectful
young man.
Saying
yes, sir, and yes, no, sir, to the detention officers and all that. So.
Wow, 16 days. So they gave you 12 days as punishment? I mean, why was it 16 days? Like the first time you got arrested, it was 5 days, you had a detention hearing. The second time, now it's 16 days.
I was in there 3 days because, again, they picked me up on the weekend. On that Friday.
Of course.
And then I go in there Monday, and then that's when they're like, well, you broke the rules or whatever, and you broke.
But you have to knowingly break the rules.
Yeah, exactly. And then that's when they were like, you got 10 business days and stuff. So
We'll let you out.
yeah,
So how are you going to know where she is?
exactly. It's just it's a setup. It really
is a setup. You said it.
Because I mean, they hopped right onto it as soon as like they filed another report that they had to do it that day because the next morning I was picked up again
At your house?
at school.
Oh, at school. Okay.
School, yes, ma'am.
But on a Friday, because you said it was the weekend again,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
that's what's
Yes,
making me, okay, all right. Well, so Dad, how did you feel about that the second time you got picked up? What are you thinking now?
Well, the second time, both times, they made sure they made it the front page news.
The front page of the newspaper?
Both times. This second time, they said teen rearrested on order of release, a violation of order of release, and here we go again. You know, having to suffer the public humiliation because we're not like invisible. We're pretty well known around there,
and it's a small
it's a
little
small
town.
area.
Yeah,
it's a small area.
Yeah.
And so they said that he was told not to go near the student, and he did. That's what they said they picked him up for the second time. And when we went to court, they subpoenaed that teacher that my son was talking about. They subpoenaed that teacher, and they subpoenaed one of the principals, assistant principal. And they asked them about it, and they agreed with my son's side of the story.
You heard him?
Yes, ma'am.
What did the teacher say?
The teacher said that, well, number one, he didn't know that the girl was in that class that he went to, but the teacher said he didn't even come in there. She just said he like stuck his foot in there and gave him a flyer, and basically that was it. So it wasn't like he was in there talking to her. According to them, he was trying to talk to her and retaliate, and he didn't even know she was in there.
So the teacher said that, and what about the principal?
And the principal said he's a great student. He said he's a great student. You know, he said, you know, they were just passing out flyers. You know, and he said he didn't know, you know, about the girl, you know, being in that class. He said there's no way he could have known that, and so it backfired on the prosecutor because they thought they was going to use them to gang up on my son, and it ended up being just the opposite.
So did the judge let him go?
That's when they said, because when you were in there that second time, you stayed in there the longest.
Mm-hmm.
The
second time was
That's the 16 days.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't remember exactly what was the reason, but I know
But he didn't get released
they gave
that day.
him the maximum. They just said they wanted to give him. They just gave him the maximum.
So the judge didn't listen to the evidence.
They said even though I might have did it unintentionally or whatever, I still did it. Like that's what they were saying. So
so it was really no explanation. They just basically knew they had the maximum amount of time if they wanted to, and that's what they gave him. They gave him the maximum.
That is
amount.
awful. That is just so awful. I'm appalled. I'm ashamed of adults who with power misusing their power on an innocent kid who they can tell is a good kid, and there's no proof at all. This is just somebody's word. I mean, can you see how why we have to be involved in the criminal justice system, why we have to exercise our right to vote, make sure that, because the richest man in the world has only one vote, just like you and me, and we've got to know who our people are in law enforcement, who we're voting for, who our city council people are. This should be a lesson from you and your friends, because when minorities or the powerless don't vote and don't get involved, and like a lot of ghetto people will say, well, those people are going to do what they want to do. No, people do what you let them do.
Yeah.
And if you're involved and you're conscientious and you tell your story and people know how, because people are embarrassed in the media when they realize how they've abused people. Because isn't it interesting how when the media finds out about things, wrongs start getting right and people start, but yet if they thought they were right in the first place, because these are our elected officials and the powers, these are our tax dollars being spent to house a good kid, a good grade kid, a mannerable kid with no evidence that anybody will show him just because he's a black kid accused of terroristic threat through a text with a phone that doesn't work, that they have in their possession, and he still has to keep going to jail. So you get out of jail after being punished for something you didn't knowingly do. And let me just remind people that crimes, We punish crimes based on intentional acts to violate the law and other people's right to be free and remain, free of violence. So for them to say we're going to punish him even if you didn't know, that's not what we do. That's not what the criminal justice system is all about. That's what we do when we're not being just and we're not being fair, because every law enforcement officer and every judge should be neutral and should be treating that child that way they'd want their child to be treated. Yep. And there's no way in hell that they would want their kid to be in jail based on what somebody said. And when you have a teacher and a principal come stand up for a kid and you're going to still punish them, I mean, what is the purpose of you even being there?
Yep.
You might as well not even be there. So those are things, your daddy is paying taxes to pay for those people's salaries. And we have to stop doing that. We have to talk about this. So you get out this time, and so that's 5 plus 16, that's 21 days you spend in jail. So you told me you've been in there a total of 30 days. So how do you get back in jail again?
Well, I got the 9. We went to Louisiana for, it was Uncle John's birthday.
4th of July last
4th of July, yeah, just, spending time with the family last year, yes ma'am. And we come back, and next thing you know, I'm getting picked up again.
Now what did you do?
And this time it's out of school, and they picked me up.
After the 4th of July holiday?
Yeah. They called us in for a detention hearing. That's what it was. It was a setup. Mm-hmm. They had already planned to arrest me, but they didn't tell us. Yep. And we went up there, and we were like, okay, yes, now we get to, all right, let's see this so-called evidence you have. Let's fight this. We thinking it's the real deal. Well, they just completely disregard the reason I'm actually there. Or how this all started in the first place, and just go to, so I hear you in Louisiana. And like, what does this have to do with anything? Well, you didn't let your probation officer know. And I'm not on probation, but I didn't let Mr. Woodard know. So
your dad is the one that took you. It's not you. You don't have control over where you go.
Yeah. Exactly. And the actual rule on orders of release says you can't be out of state more than 72 hours. We were only there for 1 day.
Wow.
But they made up a new rule.
A new rule for you.
Yeah,
that's not in the paperwork that they gave you.
Saying I have to call them and ask his permission. But I'm not on probation.
Right.
But I have to call my probation office.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, they saw the picture on Facebook where I had me and my children in the car heading to Louisiana, and they used that against him, saying he wasn't supposed to go out of state without their permission.
Oh,
he was like, it was a criminal act, and we were smiling.
Well, Master said you should have called first. So you know where you are. So you should have called first. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It's crazy. And then the thing that's hurtful is, because I said that would offend someone, but because they wouldn't look at how you were treated. You know what I mean? They don't understand that that's the way we feel. That's the way you feel. That's the way I would feel if it happened to my kid. Yep. I wouldn't want it to happen to anybody's kid, no matter what color they are, but it just hurts me that my white brethren would allow him to feel that way, but they know that damn well that they would be picking in front of the courthouse if their child was treated like that. But it's okay for our kids to be treated like that, and everybody's just like sticks their head in the stand. And if someone says anything about it, then we're wrong for not accepting being treated differently. But no one ever says, when you hear these people talking, you never hear them saying, well, if my child was accused of something without evidence, I'd want him in jail for 30 days. I've never heard one of these news commentators say that. One of the people that say, like they'll get mad because of Al Sharpton, or different people that are trying to stand up, because this kid has nowhere to go. What can he do if he's treated that way? What can he do if he's treated that way again? Nothing. He has no power at all. His dad has no power. I have no power. But what we do still have is a constitutional right to free speech, and we can talk about things, how we're treated wrong. And maybe, somebody will feel like that's in power, that maybe we should treat him the way we'd want our kids to be treated. That's what I hope for, because that's all we have is, the compassion of other people that say they're a Christian and they want to live by those principles. So you go back for 9 days. I'm sure you're pretty mad now. So how are you doing? So how are you doing in jail these 9 days?
Now I'm just I'm still fighting. I'm still praying.
You're still praying. You're reading Job.
It's getting harder.
It's getting harder.
Because I'm like, okay.
But then in the story of Job, it gets hard for him. It gets harder and harder.
Because now I'm like, okay, well, I ain't messed with the girl. So, now they just taking stuff in my regular life and using it against me.
Right.
So I'm in there, and it's it's a little easier as far as the kids
Knowing the
around, because
people.
by that time, all the detention officers know me. They call me Songbird. They call me Sunshine. They call me Church, because I would always be like preaching and stuff. The other cellmates ask me, about different verses in the Bible and everything, and what's a good thing to read, and stuff. So of course I don't want to be there, but I know I'm helping people's lives by being in there.
Right.
So it's worth it. I say that. And
let me tell you what's scary when you say that. Then my brethren that don't look like us will say, well, they like being in jail. That's what's scary about it.
ain't
Because
worth it
because
being in jail.
because
It's
you're
not
looking
worth
at the positive of a bad experience, just trying to have hope, because man's desire is to be happy and free. And you try to be happy even in bad situations. It doesn't mean that he wants to go back to jail.
No, I'm not talking about the positive in this situation.
Right.
It was bad. It was
yeah,
negative.
it was bad. But where was I? Okay, well, yeah, by that time, my dad, he had got more information and stuff and everything, and
Were the text messages ever produced?
no, man, not even till this day.
To this day, a year and a half later, text messages weren't produced. So how do you get out in 9 days? What forces release you? Back to being on probation for something that you haven't done, and a plea you haven't taken, and you still haven't, gone to court to plead not delinquent.
Well, before that court date, when we were before I got arrested, Dad, we were there, and he's like, "Do you have an attorney?" And my dad said, "Yeah, we do." And the judge was like, "Who? I don't see them." And my dad said, "He's everywhere. It's Jesus Christ."
Well, I know they thought you were crazy.
Yeah, and then that's when they tried to flip from being evil to be, and all she was talking about how she went to Jerusalem for vacation.
Right. That ain't got
And all
nothing to do with it.
that, yeah.
But would you want your kid to be locked up with an
Exactly.
allegation of something you've never seen? That's what we want to know.
Because my son doesn't really know how he ended up out.
Okay, well, tell me how you got out.
Well, the African American, we've always had faith in God, to pull through certain situations that's very tough and unimaginable. But in this situation, you have to do your part too. Well, I always say, we do all we can in the natural and trust God for the supernatural. Well, I did all I could in the natural. I got on Facebook. I went crazy that third time when they picked him up that third time.
Especially since now they blaming it on you with something that
now
you just
me,
right.
I'm showing me and my family going on vacation, and now he a criminal for going to visit family. Now I'm pissed. Now I'm not gonna joke. I'm mad. I'm on Facebook. I'm calling out everybody, all the elected officials, all the attorneys, the judges, anybody I know. Now I'm mad, and I'm telling them on Facebook, how could y'all do that? How can you turn a blind eye and a deaf ear? Y'all know what's going on. Y'all know this unjust. And I was just making a stink. I put it like that. And when I made that stink, he got out.
Right.
Because I know people got talking, and I know, because they called him back. They called us. They called us back, and they said, Mr. Baker, it was Monday, July 14th. I ain't gonna never forget. I was in the bathroom just brushing up and stuff, and he was still locked up. But he was supposed to have been in there longer. But after that big stank and everybody got to talking and stuff, and the news was spreading around, they didn't know what I was getting ready to do. And I was hoping it was gonna, like you said, I don't know whether somebody did have a heart. Somebody in upper, some judge or some attorney, or somebody in that county. I don't know if somebody did step up and say, hey, y'all, something need to happen. He need to be out, And so I don't know what happened, but I just know we got the call. I got the call that morning, probably about 10 o'clock. And they said, Mr. Baker, they called me from the Juvenile Detention Center. They said, Mr. Baker, we want you to come get your son. Your son is being released. We want you to come get your son. And they were saying it like panicky, like come get him now. And I'm like, what? All I know, I started shouting. I was so happy. It was like a ton of bricks came off of me. Because it was so much. It was mentally draining and physically too.
Oh, I'm sure.
And so when he said come get it, I didn't ask no questions. I said I don't know what's going on, but they say come get him. So we went to go get him. And then everything changed. That's why I say I don't know who talked to who, what was said, what was done, because now all of a sudden everybody, Mr. Baker, we're so sorry all this happened.
Who said that?
Darian, the probation officer, one of the probation officers and one of the head probation people, and they were saying, Darian, we're so glad this is over, Darian. Darian, you don't know how bad we wanted this. Well, we know you're a great kid. And it was like all this hoopla now.
So when it's over, he don't have to go back to court anymore or anything?
Now it's just over.
It's just over.
I went and got him straight from juvie, straight from.
I mean, so the case was dismissed?
Dismissed. They gave him the paperwork.
To dismiss it.
Saying it was dismissed and saying the case was dropped, the case was dismissed and the charge was dropped. And we went home. Actually, we didn't go home. Actually, we came to Houston and got straight on a talk radio show and talked about it. I forgot who it was. Somebody had heard about it.
But had it already been on the radio on Fox News? It
had been on Fox News as far as when it first happened. But then
so that interview that we showed was before these other two arrests?
That was before the other two arrests.
Wow.
So we went through all of that after that interview. We went through all of that. It was so much more after that. After Fox 26 did that, we went through a ton of more.
Wow. So it wasn't that the news got him released because they were still harassing him. He still got arrested 2 more times after the Fox show.
Yes, ma'am.
So then after that, but somebody made a call somewhere, and I don't know who it was.
Somebody made a call, because we don't know to this day, but somebody made a call because we didn't even have to go back to court.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So, but they still have his phone? You never tried to go get it?
They still have his phone to this day.
You just got him another one?
Well, yes, ma'am. They want the phone, they can have the phone. And on the Fox 26 news story, when I said about he was sick, he was really sick the day that they accused him. Like that evening, he came home and went straight into bed and curled up. I went and got milk and magnesia and stuff for him because I didn't know if he was constipated or something. And he was not even on the phone, even if he could have had a phone. It was broke and he was sick that day. And I told him,
really sick.
He was really sick. He didn't even get out the bed that night.
Wow.
And I was like, I know this is all false. I say, because it's nothing on our end even validating even a little bit, you know.
And what's amazing is they took a report and they never even took the phone. Because even if they didn't, if the girl, well, first of all, kids know how to download text messages. Mm-hmm. But even if they didn't have her download the text messages, they could have taken a picture of the phone, of her phone and the text messages. So there should have been some type of evidence to support her allegation, other than just her saying that.
I didn't even know about screenshotting back then.
Screenshotting, yes, that doesn't even make any sense. So if anybody wants to call in and comment at 713-807-1794, we'd entertain your comments at this time. But wow. Well, if someone's on the phone, please talk to me.
Hello there, Ms. King.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing? Your number one fan back again.
Hey, number one fan. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. You never see to amazing. I love you. Look every Wednesday night.
Thank
You
you.
got a lot of class. Anyway, what I want to say to Darren and to your father, it's a sad commentary. I was young once, I made mistakes, but at least, when I went to jail, things I really done. To see somebody, wrongly convicted, it's really sad to me.
Wow.
I want to say to concern them, keep your head up, keep doing what you're doing. I'm proud of you. I know your dad proud of you. Miss King, she's proud of you too.
I am.
Keep doing what you're doing, man, and you're going to be all right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Tracy, for calling in. Do we have any other callers? Okay. All right, so tell me, during this in and out of jail, you went from being a good student. How did you suffer? Did your grades suffer? How did you feel?
They dropped a little. It was because after the first time, it wasn't as, I hadn't really been attacked and all this stuff. It hadn't really started because it was still in the air. But when you get arrested that second time, people start to think, okay, well, maybe, he did do it, Right. So, but the first time I came back and people were just avoiding me.
Right.
But then the second time after I came back, people were insulting me. And
like how?
And they would walk by and be like, hey, terrorists, hey, don't shoot me, like thinking it's funny and everything. And
wow.
Even my English teacher was like, hey, Soapy,
What's
'cause
soapy?
I had been in jail saying like I dropped the soap.
Oh, a
And
teacher's telling you soapy?
in the middle of class, and all class, everybody's just laughing and all that, and
How
like,
humiliating.
yeah.
How did you feel as a 15-year-old being talked to like that?
embarrassed and ticked at the same time.
I mean, was any friend supportive, like saying, man, that was wrong for the teacher to do that? I mean, or did everybody just kind of get
I
scared?
knew some thought it, but just too cowardly to speak up.
Wow. How awful is that? Now he gets bullied, he gets talked to about other students, bullied by teachers even. I mean, that shows you the powers that be.
I had to go there 3 or 4 times to that school just to take up for him several times.
Who did you have to talk to?
I had to talk to the principal. I had to talk to some teachers because he was telling me every day. When it was pretty much every day, he would come home saying, "This teacher did this, or this teacher said this, or this student did this, or this teacher said that." And so, I mean, I didn't want him to end up really retaliating or really getting upset. So I say, put it all on me. So I go to the school and handle it, and I'll get into it with the teacher. If we have to get, And so it was like I was telling them, y'all stop treating him like a criminal. Y'all stop treating him like he did something. He didn't do anything. It's an allegation. It's false. I say, and I just kept telling them.
Yeah, you kept telling them, show me a text
Yeah,
message.
but they kept treating him like he was guilty. And it's sad about society, too. It's still ingrained in people's brains that if you go to jail, you're guilty. The cops don't have the authority to get you unless you're guilty. That's the way they think. If the cops arrested you, you did something.
Right.
You can't be innocent. It's impossible to be innocent.
Right, right. And not even thinking that, why do they get to do that? I mean, why do they get to do that?
And it's sad. It's really sad because it doesn't matter how much you tell them you're innocent, even when he was incarcerated, because a lot of people in there say they ain't do nothing because they don't want to, they don't want to get in trouble,
Right.
And so they say, I'm innocent too, and so it's like, jail is supposed to be for people that really broke the law, and
or there's a strong probable cause to believe that they broke the law. But for the officers, and the problem with law enforcement, and you've learned this now, is that it's subjective. It's just whatever I think. If I want to think you're bad, then I'm going to think you're bad. So it could have been a different kid she accused, but if that was a kid that was looked at favorably, that probably looked like their son or daughter, they probably would have thought, let me see the evidence first before I arrest them, which should be the same standard for all kids, not just kids that look like their kids.
And I actually ran into that, too.
How did you run into that?
The second time I was arrested, there was a Caucasian male who had got arrested about, I guess, a week to me already being there, and he came in and he was on news too. We were watching him, like he's sitting right next to us.
And what was he accused of?
He lit a poster on fire in the school, threatening to burn the house down and threatening to kill people.
But they actually had a picture.
And
did they have a picture of him burning the poster?
No, they had it on the news, and he was confessing. He said he did it, and he was sitting right next to me.
Right.
And then he said.
But you know how schools have cameras, so I was just wondering.
Yeah. Well, no, ma'am, they didn't have any.
They didn't have it yet.
Have anything.
Okay.
They was just showing just the school and stuff after hours and everything. And he said he was misdemeanor C, whichever one's the worst. I think it's A.
A is the worst.
A is the worst. He had a misdemeanor A. No, he had misdemeanor B, and I had a misdemeanor C. That's what it was. And
it was the opposite.
But it was opposite.
Yours was the most. His was the least.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I was the most. And his was a C.
Yeah, C is like a traffic ticket.
Yeah, exactly.
But a Class A misdemeanor, if it was you were an adult, you could do up to a year in jail if you were an adult.
And he had the misdemeanor B. The other kid had the C, and he really did his. It was on the news.
Trying to burn up the school, and he gets a Class C, which a Class C is like a traffic ticket.
Yeah.
Then I was in there.
A for something with no evidence.
And also didn't have a background, and he did.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And see, that's the discretion that the police get to use. And I've watched them. Police do the right thing a lot of times, but they shouldn't be subjective about. If they don't have evidence, they should take it through some committee or have 2 or 3 people deciding when are we going to use our tremendous power to take someone's liberty from them.
Yep.
And, they're not thinking about what kind of effect they're having on the kid for the rest of their lives. Hopefully this is a positive experience and makes you be involved in the system, understand that understand the founding fathers had the right idea by saying you're innocent until proven guilty because they wrote that because I would imagine because if the crown, the queen, who they were running from, said they were guilty, they were guilty. And so they realized this ain't right, because we ain't all guilty. So we're going to write a constitution for this new world as you're innocent until proven guilty. And so I would just imagine. So think about that when you become an adult and become judgmental.
Yes, ma'am.
And he's a good kid. He's 16, and he's about to start his senior year in high school in August. So you're right on track doing what you're supposed to do. Wow, Dad. So the police still have his phone. They never showed you the evidence. He was in jail for 30 days. Now, when adults do a terroristic threat, the law that he's charged with is terroristic threat. And if an adult does that, they bond out the first day, and they never do time like that. They never do 30 days in jail.
Yep.
And if you do get sentenced, if you're guilty or found guilty to 30 days, you'd only do half, 15. In the Harris County jail, I don't know about the jail in your county.
It's the same.
It's the same. So, I mean, so a kid to go day for day, 30 days, by being punished by a small town just because you can do it, I don't know. It seems like this needs to be reported to the FBI or something. I don't know. It just seems like somebody needs to investigate their patterns and practices. Similar to Ferguson, once the federal government came in and looked, they saw a pattern and practice of, I think traffic violations were always to the minorities, even though the minorities didn't make up the majority of the population.
Yeah.
So they came in and did statistics on how the government was governing or how the police were policing. And so I don't know. I don't know what you can do, because like you said, if you wanted to do a civil rights lawsuit, you'd have to pay a civil rights lawyer to do that, and that costs money. So sometimes you just bury your head and hope it never happens again.
Yeah.
How do you think that you can avoid getting in trouble again? I mean, I know you didn't do this, so I'm just saying, how could you? What would you do next time if you were falsely accused? Is there anything that you would know to do?
Not really. Just, the way we did it, it took a minute, but it worked. So,
Right, it worked by just putting it on social media and realizing that controls a lot of things. Somebody saw it and made a decision.
And so standing our ground, because we wouldn't back down. They were trying to get him to take probation.
Oh, they were trying to get him to plead guilty to the crime.
Deferred adjudication and all. We were like,
No, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. I'm glad you didn't do it.
Yeah.
I'm glad you didn't do it. So has it died down? It's been another year and a half, so has it died down in school?
Yes, ma'am, it has. It rarely it gets brought up again, because it's a small town and new freshmen coming in, people talk and everything, and people still try to be messy, but it's not a problem anymore.
I don't know if I have a phone call, but if I do, caller, you're on.
Barges again. I'm looking at you. I want to say to the young man, you keep your head up high, keep God with you. Everything will work out okay. You keep your head up, young man.
Yes, ma'am.
And you didn't do nothing in your heart, and let the bad, what that meant for bad, mean for good, to teach you how to have somebody to stand up for their rights.
And aren't you proud of him for standing up for his rights and
Yes,
not pleading?
ma'am.
Not pleading.
I'm proud of the father.
It's proud of the father.
I'm proud of the father too, for taking his stand with his son. It's too many fathers missing what they can do for their child. But sir, I appreciate being a father.
Thank you.
And I appreciate him having the courage to tell his story. Thank you for watching the show, and thank you for calling in, ma'am.
Bye-bye, baby.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So, I'm glad you did stand your ground. That's important that y'all stood your ground, because most people in Harris County, they just, it's just a cattle mill, and they all come in, and whether they're guilty or not, they say, they plead guilty to it, take probation, and go home, just so they don't have to keep going back up there.
Then find a reason to revoke it, then they back in there anyway.
Right, then you're back in there anyway. Yeah, I agree. Wow. So is there anything, did you learn any lessons from it that you could impart on us?
Well, I know that now it's I've kind of realized what more of my purpose is, as far as the future and to help people and everything. I got a lot of testimonies, a lot of stories from different people, and now I can relate to a lot of my peers, when they're going through stuff, you know, hey, I've been falsely accused. Hey, I've been to juvenile. You know, I've been through the court system. I know how unjust it is and everything. So.
Are you still in all the activities at school, or did they kick you out of them?
I was kicked out of drumline.
Wow, and it's so hard to make the drumline. Do you think you could ever regain your position in drumline?
No, ma'am. This is it. They already made the final drumline, and I'm going to my final year of high school. So.
Wow. How do you feel about that, Dad?
Well, it was pretty frustrating because he tried hard to get on that drum line.
And so to get on it in the first place, and then now to be falsely accused and kicked off?
And of course, they're not going to say that's the reason, of course.
Of course not, of course not.
We know it.
That's the subtle society we live in.
Yeah.
And you're a musician yourself, right?
Yes, ma'am. And so he does real good with the arts, you know, theater and choir and band and dance, you know. I mean, he's tall, you know, he's 6'2", and people think, oh, what sports you play? But he's in the arts, you know, and people are pretty impressed with that when they see he's not just focused on sports, you know, he's into the arts. And so it's pretty impressive. And so, you know, for something like that, when he tries real hard to be the best at it, and then, you know, they kind of demote him or whatever you want to call it because of this situation. You know, it was pretty disheartening.
But y'all are getting through it, right? Because the most important thing is that you're all still together.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Did that make your family matter more to you?
Of course, yes, ma'am. Because, I mean, my dad, he's my hero and my best friend, really, and I say that, like, with all my heart. He had my back through everything. He didn't doubt me not once, and
wow,
he was with me. Like, he's a real dad.
Wow.
And he knows me too, because if he would have been guilty, I would have been the first one all over him. I'm not gonna just because it's my son. That's why he knew that I knew he was innocent, because I'm not gonna just say, oh, he's my son. So no, if you were guilty, I would have been the first one saying, hey,
take that probation.
Yeah.
but I knew, gotten on his butt.
Yeah, but I knew he was innocent, and so I fought it to the end. And they all, you know, talk about the race card and all this. I didn't care what they were saying. I pulled out every card I could.
I know that's right, to save your son just like everybody else does. Yeah. And that's so crazy about the race card. Why? If you say race, it's a card? I mean, no. Why? Because you know, white America feels like, since I don't talk about race, then there is no such thing as race, but I'm going to treat you bad because of your race, but I'm not going to say anything. So that means, and if you say it, you broke our rule, because we get to treat you a certain way, not like they would treat their child. So we know it has to be a reason for that, because and what I try to tell my Caucasian friends whom I love is that kids like him go to school with Caucasian kids, so they see the privilege. They see that they're not looked at the same way, so you can't like trick them. And they know that there's, I mean, whether you say it or not, they know why. I mean, they know why this kid was arrested and treated like a criminal, because a Caucasian girl said something that, with no evidence at all, no cell phone, no pictures. To this day, you've never seen them, but he's going in and out of jail. Do you ever run into that girl again? I mean, have you seen her since then?
I see her quite a bit, actually, just through the hallways. I mean, the school isn't that big.
I wonder, does she feel bad about lying on you? I mean, why do you think she did it?
She avoids me, and
what did you hear through the grapevine of why she did it? Did she pick the wrong person, you think?
No, it was deliberately. I mean,
you were already a public figure at the school since you were on the drum line, so people know you that you didn't know. Do you think that? Did anybody ever share any possible motivation?
No. Well, I mean, it's. Like, I don't even want to say it. It was just out of the blue, just random stuff. And it was just like saying, hey, did you, maybe there was your ex-girlfriend's friend, or like just different, just messy stuff like that.
Just random things that didn't make any sense.
Nothing at all.
So. Nothing, absolutely nothing at all.
And that's what they kept saying at first. Well, the principal, the police, the judge, everybody kept asking, what do you think she liked you and you just didn't know it, and she retaliated against you because you were ignoring her? I'm like, That doesn't make any sense. But that's what they were trying. They were trying
Well,
to.
you should have said, you have my phone, look and see. Did she ever call me? I mean, I'm sure you had a Facebook page. I'm sure they looked at it. And they didn't see anything about her or anything negative on there. There was nothing they could use about you.
Nothing.
So they saw all those things.
They got his password for Facebook.
How did they get your password? You gave it to them?
They asked. They made him.
They made me.
How did they make you?
They wouldn't release me unless I gave it to them.
So that's against the law, too.
They made him.
I'm not going to let you out of jail unless you give me your password.
Yeah, they said because they were scaring him when he wasn't by me.
That was my first time there.
Right.
They got everything. They made sure they got as much as they could before my dad got
Before I got a hold of it. Because they made him sign that order of release at the school, all of that without my knowledge. They made him sort.
And what's the order of release? What was it saying?
So I mean the consent saying he was going to stay away from the girl at school, and if he violated, he go to they made him sign all of that stuff before I even was aware.
And see, to me, what I'm disappointed with schools not handling their business is, why didn't they call you and him in, her and her parents in, like the old-fashioned way, and talk about, do y'all know each other? How do y'all know each other? Why would he say that? Let me see the phone. Yeah. Why couldn't it be handled that way?
Yeah.
I mean, why couldn't they make her show them the phone first? You know, and why couldn't it be you know, I just don't. I don't understand why kids can't be treated like kids, and principals can call people in and try to mediate it to see if there's really a problem, if there is a threat. Yeah. You know, rather than saying there is a threat. I mean, that's what I'm just disappointed.
And they let him go back to school. They let him go. It was reported February 13th.
Well, that's a good thing that they let him go back to school.
Well, the reason why I'm saying is February the 13th at 6 o'clock is when it was reported. February the 14th, they picked him up his last class. But if he threatened to kill students, how did you let him go back to school all day?
Because they probably didn't know what to do about it. You know,
all day. If he was going to kill him, I guess he would have killed him before 6th period, you know?
Before 6th period.
Because they didn't pick him up to the last period.
Wow, that's crazy. That is so crazy. That is so crazy that they let that happen. So we got about 30 seconds. So, Dad, if you want to close out and tell us what the moral to the story is, please do.
Well, the moral to the story with me is, number one, I trusted my son first, and I do believe the system, the Constitution, which says innocent till proven guilty, and that's the way it should be. I believe it should be evidence, proof, facts, witnesses, everything before you just do somebody like they did my son.
And do you want to say anything, Darian?
I just want to thank God, too, for pulling me through this, and thank my dad a lot. Like, really, he gets all the credit, because all I did was just be in that cell. My dad did all the fighting.
Right,
So I thank God that I have a dad like him.
Wow.
He blessed me.
Isn't this a good story to hear that a dad raised a son, raised children, and stood up for his son to the end and got him out of jail, even got our local news to cover it. I mean, that's pretty impressive. So we opened the case of Darian Ward, and now with a happy ending, the case closed. Good night, and we'll talk to you next Wednesday. Thank you for tuning in again. Tonight we have something really good, a hot topic in the news this week. He's been charged with crime. This is a show where I try to educate. Really good, a hot topic in the news this week. He's been charged with crime. This is a show where I